So hello everybody. We are very fortunate to have with us Aakrit Vaish, who is the founder of Haptik Technologies. It's an organization that's into conversational intelligence and has moved up the trajectory into a number of emerging technologies. And we're going to listen about it shortly. But just to introduce Aakrit, who's a very close friend of mine, and I've known him now for many, many years. He has been an entrepreneur 35 under 35. He's featured in the business world 40 under 40. And Haptik was acquired by Reliance for $100 million. That's some investment. So, Aakrit, over to you.
Yeah, no, thanks Uday for having me. Pleasure always speaking to you about the automation topic. Also, by the way, Reliance, the acquisition was last year. How did the Haptik journey happen? Both of us founders, my partner who's the CTO and me, we've known each other we knew each other for many years, and then we were based in San Francisco, and that's when we figured that we wanted to build a company in the AI and the messaging space, and we also wanted to do it for sort of India first. So that's when we moved out here about 7 years back and started working on Haptik as an idea. Some of you may be aware, but at one point I think it was very popular. So we actually started our journey, and the first half of the company, we built a direct to consumer application, which was a personal assistant service. So in fact, in the first half of the company, we weren't building digital transformation for brands and enterprises. We were actually building a direct to consumer mobile app. It was called Haptik. Like I said, a lot of people were aware of it. You could go inside that app, and using AI, you could do lots of tasks such as book a flight, find the nearest location for an ATM or a store. You could also book a movie ticket. You could do food delivery, all on messaging or AI. So that was really the first half of the company's journey. But then we realized that that what we had built and the power of that was greater in the technology and not in the customer side. So that's when we actually took our technology, repackaged it, and started enabling large brands and enterprises with similar virtual assistants, such that they can transform digitally to actually enable great customer experience across all their different channels. So that's how really we pivoted into this journey. And like they say, since then rest is history, where we've sort of been very fortunate over the last few years. Every year we've grown about 300% year on year. This year is going to be the hardest because at one point at smaller numbers you can keep growing 3x, but as numbers get larger it becomes harder, and plus with COVID and everything. So this year is going to be hard. A lot of what my time goes now is in global expansion across our different markets of US, UK, Singapore, Australia. That's really where I'm spending a lot of my time, at least virtually, and trying to set up our businesses in those regions. All that said, India is and will remain our largest market, and this is where we believe all of the opportunity lies for many years to come. Like you said, make it the automation capital of the world.
Yeah, I think at this point, we would really like to understand a little bit more about your product line, your offerings, especially the AI chatbots, the virtual assistants. So throw some more light on the product line as on today and what's likely to come in the future.
Yeah. So our platform, we like to call it an intelligent virtual assistant platform. What it basically does is it sits across all your digital channels, which would include website, mobile app, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, SMS, or any other digital asset that you have. It sits as a conversational channel across these mediums. Conversational could be either text enabled or voice enabled. And the objective is to improve the experience of end customers, as well as what we like to call internal customers. Internal customers can be your sales teams. It can also be your B2B customers who want to kind of interact and seek some help. The core piece of our platform that is very different and unique is the fact that we have built, you know, all of this natural language engine on a real database of over 3 billion interactions that we had because of our mobile app that I told you about. So as a result, the natural language engine is the core bread and butter and makes the product much superior. We also have a separate dedicated conversational commerce engine. So what that does is it leverages underlying recommendation patterns and essentially tries to give you the best set of suggestions when you're trying to buy a product. Um, and the objective of each one of our customers when they use us is how do I potentially increase my business, or how do I reduce my costs? These are typically the two major goals that people start out with. Increasing business happens by facilitating transactions over the virtual agent, and reducing costs happens through automation. Any of these scenarios, we also have what we call an agent chat, where essentially whenever the AI cannot understand something, it seamlessly routes it to an agent. One of our other core USPs is our conversational analytics. It is probably, and as humble as I can be, I think our conversational analytics are probably the best in the world, where it gives you deep insight and data into what's happening in a specific conversation, and accordingly how you can analyze and make business decisions based on that. So that's where we are today.
That is a very interesting. That is very interesting. Can you just dwell a little bit more on that? On the conversational analytics piece. Any use case that comes to your mind that you can share with the viewers?
So what is conversational analytics, right? Essentially, every message that is happening or every conversation that is flowing back and forth between a customer and a brand, you want to analyze it and you want to make sense of it. And then you want to do a few things with it. One, you want to understand what are people actually talking about, right? So one of the things that our customers find the most useful is that what are my customers wanting to ask me, right? For example, in an insurance company recently, we found that most customers were actually asking about, a specific type of insurance that actually was very less featured on their website. So what they realized is, oh wait, people actually want to know about this. People actually want to ask about this. So why don't we start featuring it a little upfront, right? So that's one. Second, they want to get a sense of, in general, what people are asking, but the virtual assistant is not being able to handle. So what we call is not being automated, right? So those are topics that you want to take and you want to sort of start adding back into the system. And then third is, of course, sentiment and tone, which is, are my customers happy? Are they not happy? Can they sort of do a little better with it? Can we sort of, give them better service? So these are the three things in which most of our customers use the analytics package.
Great. So, the other day I was talking to one of the CEOs of an organization in India, and he said his basic need was that every day morning when he comes to the office, he would like to speak to an Alexa-like machine and get inputs, right? These could be standard reports, or it could be ad hoc reports. It could be any kind of data that he's looking out for. And his expectation was that the system would have an intelligent conversation with him and provide him the reports in the fashion that he wants. So have you sort of embarked on these kind of projects, or when do you see this happen?
Yeah, we've heard a lot about these types of requests lately in the last 1 year, in the sense that it is definitely something that is a popular request in general. But basically, is it possible to do today? Yes. Are we doing projects like these? No. And the only reason for that is we are still trying to understand, how large is that need? Like you mentioned, there are a few people asking about it, but can I build a product that I can take to thousands of customers and thousands of people, right? So that's what we're trying to evaluate. To answer your question, can that be done? Yes. It is a slightly complicated integration. It also requires that your backend analytics systems are set up correctly.
Great. So, thanks for that, Aakrit, and we'll certainly sort of watch the space for that, and look out for more innovative ways of trying to get that technology in place. One another thing is that businesses like today, after the post-COVID, and organizations are really looking at innovative ways of working. And so I really would like to understand, and I'm sure a lot of viewers today would like to understand how organization like yours, enterprise SaaS providers, really become catalytic in this process, bringing in an innovative way or bringing in digital transformation for these medium-sized organizations or large corporations, and how they could embark on emerging technologies without very heavy investments upfront.
Yeah, all good questions, right? So let's break it up. One of the trends, of course, with the pandemic we're seeing is work from home. Now, in the work from home scenario, the first thing that you want is you want to be using software that fulfills the following requirements. It's collaborative in the sense that I can easily share it with other people very seamlessly. It is cloud hosted, because unless it is cloud hosted, you're not going to be able to maintain it day to day. And finally, it is very lightweight to use. One of the things that people are missing in this work from home scenario is that no matter how hard you try, training is becoming harder for anything, like functional training. So if you use a software that is complicated to use and requires like 5 sessions of training, it's not going to happen. Honestly, it's people don't have time and patience for that, right? So you also want to use lightweight software that you can self-serve and use it on your own. um, then the second part of what can a company like Haptik do, right? In this entire transition from call centers moving to work from home, uh, there are two parts, right? We have an agent chat software that can comfortably sit behind any website or any cloud-based interface such that people can access it from anywhere. So gone are the days when they have to be logged into a VPN, right? They can actually access it completely. You can go to a website right now, put in your URL and start accessing our agent chat. And the second is, of course, in the automation space, right? There has never been a greater need to automate uh, mundane stuff than ever before. And by stuff, I mean, it doesn't have to be always customer support. It can be anything. You want to automate, even with outside of conversational AI, even RPA is something that is becoming such a need right now, right? Because anything that requires, anything that is done 5 times over and over again should be automated, because there's enough technology available for it to automate, right? So, from an automation standpoint, I think it is really the right time to build some of these tools.
Great. So let me switch gears a little bit out here, Aakrit. There are a whole lot of budding professionals out here who really want to sort of get into writing algorithms. What would be your guidance to them? Where should they be starting? What should be their first step, and how they can get more advanced into this? Do you have any academies that you run at your end that they could enroll themselves for? So a little bit more about capability development for the community and giving back to the community.
Yeah, no, good question. We don't run any academies personally, directly. So as Haptik, we don't run any institute or academy that trains engineers or data scientists. That said, Haptik does, of course, some of our senior machine learning leaders do participate in coaching people with other academies. So, I won't take names today, but there are enough academies, both online and offline, available, which teach you about data science, which teach you about algorithms. You can also learn it from things like Khan Academy. You can also learn it from YouTube, honestly, right? So there is a lot of different resources available to start learning. All you have to do is Google and try. And once you look around, there'll be enough sources. The one thing I would recommend is, when you think about building algorithms and AI technology, start small. Don't expect that you'll be able to learn it all in 3 months. Start small, build some basic intelligence programs, and eventually you'll get there.
Right. We started talking about Reliance. There is huge amount of interest in the organization. There is money flowing into the company. How is it working with the group? What is their vision? What are the synergies? And what are give us a preview into some of the plans.
So how is it working with the group? It's a lot of fun, and I'll tell you the single piece that has been surprising for even me, right? Whenever any marriage happens, okay, there is a honeymoon period, right? Where during the honeymoon phase, you both love each other a lot, you take care of each other a lot, and then eventually the honeymoon phase dies out and you accept reality and for the best and the worst of both of you. Similar to that, whenever a merger or an acquisition happens, right, you expect the honeymoon phase to last 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, after which everybody will start saying, this problem, that problem. For us, and I was talking to my co-founder about this earlier this morning, we feel we are still in honeymoon phase, and it has been about 1.5 years because there is so much happening. And I mean by so much happening, not only at Haptik, but also at, as you can tell, RIL and Geo, right? That is just, from the time that we have started working with them till now, priorities, the pace of work, everything that we do has just incredibly transformed, and every day it keeps changing. And for us, the one thing that we continue to learn is that there is no ceiling to your ambition. I think that the whole meaning of ambition is a different meaning when you think about what Geo and Reliance is trying to do. What are the plans? I can talk about my plans in terms of trying to build Haptik into a large global enterprise software company. As far as Geo platform is concerned, I'll be honest with you. It's interesting that whatever is public is what is the real plan, which is the idea is to build a platform company that has a number of different assets within it that controls the connectivity business as well as controls a lot of software, technology, AI, and others. And the idea is how do you sort of take it all together and build a large internet company globally. And the idea for Haptik as part of that is to be the horizontal conversational AI layer, where wherever there is a medium of conversation, whether it is WhatsApp, whether it is chat, whether it's voice, whether it is commerce, whether it is care, we sort of step in as a technology to actually enable it.
My last question to you would be, and especially for automation and emerging technologies, digital transformation, what do you think will be the top 2 technologies that will really transform the way we are working, from the way we are working today to the way we work tomorrow?
I think video plus AI. So I think AI is too broad, right? AI is like the internet. But I think AI within video is the next one big space, which is how can you use, so far we've been limited to using things like text and images, but how can you use video clips and do AI on top of it to then ultimately do lots of features? For example, yesterday I saw a company that does that cuts background noise by implementing it within your sort of video conference, right? And it's an amazing product. So I think video within AI or AI within video, I think is one space that I would bet on. And perhaps, the other one would be, you said 2, right? The other one would be anything to do with vernacular languages. I feel like for whatever reason, people have been trying to do vernacular languages for the past 20 years. And by people, I mean including Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and tons of startups. But if you were to ask any person who's doing a digital business today that, hey, I want a really robust solution for vernacular, it's not quite there. And I think that presents a very large opportunity for the future as well. So when I think about vernacular languages, it could be lots of things. It's also the way, for example, the way you interact with a website has not changed in, I don't know how many years, right? So and then the way the next 500 million Indians who come online are going to interact with a website is going to be very different from the way you and I did. So I think just that entire space of, how do you use the language technology in the best manner is huge.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Aakrit. Thank you for spending some time with us today, and wish Haptik all the best of luck, and you especially, Aakrit. It's always been a pleasure talking to you and having a conversation. And really thank you and the team at Haptik to make India the automation capital of the world. So really appreciate this. Thank you.
No, thank you so much for having me, and always a pleasure talking to you, and good luck, and look forward to speaking soon again.